So you want to find a job in Oslo?
Well, first off, welcome to Oslo.
Finding a job here can be a bit of a journey, but don't worry, we are here to guide you through everything step by step. We're heading out around town to get some tips and advice from experts about finding a job in Oslo.
You'll hear from a recruiter, an HR professional, and a career advisor at NAV.
Today we're here at Oslo's well-known public library, Deichman Bjørvika. It's a great spot to sit down and do some research or to warm up when it's cold outside.
Depending on your specific situation, you may need to secure a job before moving to Norway, or you may be able to look for one upon arrival. You can learn more about visas and permits on the Norwegian Directorate of Immigration, or UDI's website.
And when you move here, there are all kinds of different jobs you can pursue, like full-time permanent jobs known as fast job, part-time jobs, often 20 or 50%. And then there's what we call småjobber, which is small gigs or odd jobs.
But before taking on that kind of work, make sure you check your tax obligations with Skatteetaten.
And of course, starting your own business is also an option.
Just remember to check the conditions of your visa or residence permit. Some types of work may depend on the status that you have, and for example, not all visa types allow you to start a business in Norway. For many foreigners hoping to work in Norway, Oslo is one of the first places to look. It's a capital city, so surely it must be easier to find a job here, right?
True, but a lot of Norwegians come here too, so that adds competition to the labor market. But there are also a lot of large corporations and international companies here too. So there are more options for different types of work. So yes and no.
Yeah, the job market in Norway can be more difficult for internationals. On one side, you have a lot of internationals that get into the job market, particularly within their skill sets. But you also have a lot of internationals that find an opportunity in Norway, but it's not regarding their background and their interest and skills and competencies. So I think there's a huge movement of a lot of internationals coming to Norway, but unfortunately you see a trend where a lot of people really struggle, but there's some that find an opportunity as well.
Even though the job market here can be challenging, it's important to note that there are talent shortages in Oslo, and there is a need for skilled workers here.
Many jobs do require Norwegian language skills, but it's worth reaching out to the recruiters to ask them how much is needed, or to let them know that you're willing to learn.
Language proficiency in Norway, I do want to say it's not important because I think unfortunately it can be really hard to learn a new language, particularly Norwegian, but it is. And one of the reasons are we're a small country, migration is still fairly new in Norway, and understanding, but also being able to speak it, it's important.
Jeg må si at det kan være litt vanskeligere for innvandrere som kommer til Norge, og arbeidsinnvandrere for å jobbe, finne jobb. Hovedkriteriene for mange stillinger er jo språk. Norsk språk, og mange ikke kan det, men det er ikke umulig.
Now that we have covered the basics, let's see where you can find jobs in Oslo. Here are some key platforms to get you started.
Finn.no is the go-to website for basically everything in Norway. You can buy and sell things, find accommodation, and of course also find and apply for jobs.
LinkedIn is becoming increasingly popular in Norway, especially for larger companies. So make sure your profile is updated.
TheHub.io is a great resource for jobs in startups across the Nordics.
NAV, the Norwegian Labour and Welfare Administration, offer job boards and resources tailored to internationals.
Norsk arbeid- og velferdsetaten er jo et stor etat som hjelper mennesker helt fra helseavklaring, helt fra at de mister arbeid, til at de har ikke et sted å bo. Vi jobber jo hovedsak med folk som har opptjent rettigheter og har rettigheter i Norge. Men selvfølgelig, vi jobber også med folk som kommer til Norge og trenger hjelp til å finne en type jobb eller bare starte et nytt liv i Norge.
In addition to searching online, networking plays a big role in finding work in Oslo.
Norway is a trust-based society, so building relationships is essential, even if it takes time.
Networking is super important in Norway, and I would say just generally in the Nordics. That's also how you find most of your opportunities, by connecting with people, because people in Norway, we build on credibility and relationships. So I think that comes first than just applying for a job through a platform.
Jeg som veileder opplever at folk som har et bedre nettverk har bedre tilgang på arbeidsmarkedet. Bruk gjerne de der frivillige organisasjonene som for eksempel Røde Kors, som Caritas, hvor du kan møtes der, bli kjent med folk, eller spesielt gå på språkkaféer, lære norsk, se på Oslo kommune sin sider, hvor har de språkkafé, gå på bibliotek, bli kjent med. Det så fine mennesker som jobber der, som kan hjelpe deg med CV, kan hjelpe deg med hvordan du søker på en stilling.
This means that you might have to get out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there to meet new people and try new things.
In Oslo, you can join communities or events at spaces like Mesh and The Conduit. Organizations like Umbrella and Diversify also organize and share events. There are large conferences like Oslo Freedom Forum, Catapult Future Fest, and Oslo Innovation Week that are great places to meet new people.
For the entrepreneurial-minded among us, there are incubators and programs specifically for immigrants, like Charge. If you want to practice your Norwegian, you can join a språkcafé or take Norwegian classes as well.
Posting on LinkedIn, asking people for coffee meetings, and attending events and networking sessions are all great ways to find a community and opportunities here in Oslo.
And when you're ready to start applying, make sure to tailor your application to the role.
Some of my experiences working with recruitment has been these really long CVs that we receive, which usually, I'll give you an example, 15 pages. That's very long. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of headhunters and recruitment experts that provide with that advice. So I think for internationals, be mindful about shortening your CV. So what that means is between 2 to max 3 pages. We are still using cover letter, even though I think it's quite outdated. So keeping it to just 1 page and summarizing, from the beginning, your background, your experience, but tailoring it to the job description, so the key competencies. So keep it nice and concise, and I'll be very happy.
Det veldig viktig at du lager en god CV, kort og enkelt. Ikke bruk vanskelige ord, ikke bruk så mye setninger i forklaring av utdanning, arbeidserfaring du har hatt før. 2-3 setninger om dine nøkkelkvalifikasjoner, hvem du hva har du utdannet, og veldig kort søknad. Trenger ikke bruke ChatGPT, trenger ikke bruke veldig avanserte ord. Send søknad, søk på jobber. Når du ny i Norge, så må du regne med at du må bygge referanse, bygge attester, bygge arbeidserfaring. Og da må du takke for eksempel kanskje til en jobb du ikke veldig glad i, men du blir jo ikke gift med jobben.
When you speak with the line manager or the HR manager or the person that's recruiting, ask them for advice on what's expected. Because we often forget that international don't really know how things are until you ask the question.
Bygge nettverk, bruke frivillige organisasjoner som Røde Kors, som Caritas, som andre frivillige organisasjoner som hjelper deg med språkkaféer, biblioteker, hvor du kan gå der og bygge nettverk, snakke norsk, lære norsk. Og ikke minst bygge en god CV, hvor du sender det til åpne søknader, til stillinger som ute på FIN, på arbeidsplassen, på nav.no. Og gjøre klar dine referanser både i Norge og i utlandet, slik at en arbeidsgiver kan ringe dem, se hvordan du fungerer i arbeidslivet. Søk jobber, bruk nettverk, bruk alt nettverk, Facebook, hva du vil til å finne jobb, og du må være motivert. De som motiverte, finner jobb. Det ganske sikkert.
Okay, so networking is clearly important in Norway, but it's great to remember how persistence and motivation are key.
And as you may have heard, Norway is also known for its really strong work-life balance, which is also a part of Scandinavian and even Nordic culture in general.
A standard work week here in Norway is 37.5 hours.
So don't be surprised when your colleagues actually leave work on time. It's really important to enjoy life outside of office hours too. And that took some getting used to for me when I first moved here.
Things can feel very informal. The hierarchy is very flat. People can be on a first name basis with the CEO or whoever it is. The dress code is often very informal. People wearing jeans to work. You can go to the gym in your lunch hour, crack on to the cabin on the weekend, leave early on a Friday afternoon. It's very much more relaxed. This is in part due to the high trust culture, where you are trusted to get on with your work and to do your job.
Many companies also arrange social activities for their employees, and it's not uncommon at all to have lønningspils, which is payday drinking after work. Nice.
Norwegian workplaces are also quite informal. For example, you can call people by their first name, even your boss.
Yeah, but of course, Oslo is a capital city, so some industries are quite competitive. But in general, Norwegian workplaces are pretty relaxed about the hierarchy.
So, Tobias, Norway is known for its very high taxes. Is that reputation well deserved?
Well, it depends kind of how you look at it. Typically, you pay between 30 or 40% in taxes, but you do get a lot for it.
Norway is a country that really values equality and solidarity, and to this end they have enshrined a lot of these things in the laws and regulations that are in place around working. For example, parental leave policies are amongst the best here than anywhere in the world. Mothers and fathers have together up to 52 weeks of paid leave whilst they are taking care of their baby in its first year of life. Holidays, annual leave, you have 25 days paid annual leave. That doesn't count the statutory holidays, and there are a lot of statutory holidays in Norway, especially in May. There is also sick leave, which is broadly speaking open-ended, which you also can access when you are needing to stay home if your children are sick. So this doesn't come out of your sick leave allowance. You have a special sick leave allowance that allows you to stay home and take care of your kids while they're sick. The focus in Norway is to have as many people as possible in a state to work as much as they are capable of working. So if you need to take time off to recuperate from an illness or a surgery or something like this, there are protections in place that keep your job safe, keep you and your job safe, whilst you focus on recovering and being in a state to get back to work.
As you're applying for jobs, and especially once you've landed one, it's important to understand your rights and responsibilities as an employee in Norway.
It can be a good idea to have a look on the Labour Inspectorate website. This is Arbeidstilsynet, a bit of a mouthful in Norwegian. But this has the Employment Act or the Working Environment Act. It's available in English, and this can be a great way for you to, as a newcomer, start to understand what your rights and responsibilities are as an employee in Norway. Joining a workers' union can be a great way of contributing to, because you need to pay a small fee, and also benefiting from this very strong base of equality and solidarity that is so important in Norwegian culture. It's not the same combative relationship between employers and unions here in Norway as it is in many other countries. It feels like an extra protection at your back. So these are great experts to have on hand if you have questions, not only if you're in a conflict situation.
In Norway, there's strong collaboration between the government, employers, and trade unions, which ensures that wages, benefits, and working conditions are negotiated through collective bargaining rather than by companies alone.
The system provides strong worker protections, including regulated working hours, fair wages, and job security.
While Norway also has strong laws prohibiting discrimination based on ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, gender, and more, unfortunately, discrimination can still occur.
If you experience discrimination, there are resources available to support you.
Oslo regularly ranks as one of the best places in the world for happiness, gender equality, and resilience, which makes the city a strong contender in an increasingly competitive job market.
And an excellent place to work and live.
Finding a job in Oslo can be difficult.
Yes, but with persistence and patience and the right tools, you've got this.
We hope that the tips that we have shared today will help you to take your next steps in your career journey.
Yes, and remember that putting yourself out there and networking really do make a difference.
Good luck!
And welcome to Oslo!
I was thinking the same thing. Boom! Great mind.